fault.
All right.
All right, welcome everybody to another edition of Think with a Drink. This is going way too. See, I don't know, this thing on the screen thing is bothering me. I don't know why that is. Why is that there? See, there we go.
On the screen, I can't see your screen.
Oh, you can't?
Well, I can see the PowerPoint, but I don't know
All
what
right. God bless. Here we go. You figure after all this time we would have this down now by this, right? Anyway, here we are, another episode of Think with a Drink. This is the weekly webinar series brought to you by the ARIES Foundation for Financial Education. And this one we're doing somewhat of a fun one, right? This is survive the holidays financially, at least. Right? Dealing with your family, your friends, your coworkers, all that other stuff that get heaps on, all the stress that comes from that. Sorry, we can't help you out with that. We have people we can send you to, but we can't help you out with that, right? All
No,
right.
we cannot help with that.
We cannot help with that. All right, so a little checklist before we get started. Just know we are recording. All the microphones should stay muted. You don't have to worry about cameras because we've got this set up where it's just Craig and I. Hopefully that's all that's being shown on there. There is a chat box, however, so you can certainly use the chat box to drop in any questions. And my co-pilot is here just to drop in and make sure that any of those questions get answered, and also to keep us on pace for this evening. Speaking of your pilots, my name's Tom Alessi. I am the president of the ARIES Foundation. I've been in financial services now for 24 years. I'm an investment advisor. That means I act as a fiduciary whenever giving guidance or advice to any of my clients. I want to bring my vice president, Craig. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Craig Richardson. I'm the vice president of the ARIES Foundation, and I'm also the clerk and
the clerk
and the head custodian. Yes. And 19 plus years.
Not the sergeant at arms?
No, I'm not. I'll let you be the sergeant at arms.
Sergeant at arms. Douglas C. Niedermeyer, sergeant at arms.
I specialize in working with families, help them define their financial goals and to have a better relationship with their money.
And as I said, Craig will be chiming in as we go along, but also he's here to do if the chat box, if anything comes up, because I can't see it at this point. So that's why he's here, to make sure we stay on pace. And if I mess anything up, he can also see that and let me know that something has gone wrong, which occasionally does happen with technology. All right, so we told you that Think with a Drink is brought to you by the ARIES Foundation for Financial Education. You can visit us at ariesfoundation.org. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. The mission behind ARIES is trying to help everyone have a better relationship with their money. Because whether you realize it or not, you are in a personal relationship with money. And just like every other relationship that you have, there are behaviors and triggers that occur that can cause us to act, well, especially at this time of the year, right, Greg? A little irrationally when it comes to dealing with our money and our finances.
Absolutely. It's Christmas.
It's Christmas. Yeah, we'll get into that. Believe me, that's the whole part of this. Yeah, as far as going through it. All right, so there's a lot of words on the screen that I am not going to read. Just know we told you we're a nonprofit. We do this for educational and informational reasons. All we ever ask is that if you do ever share this, because we do record these, we share them on our YouTube channel, we share them on the website, that if you ever share any of our content, you just do it in an educational and informational manner only. Just know that the ARIES Foundation, myself, Craig, the rest of the team, we always recommend that if you ever have a question of a legal, tax, or financial nature, that you seek out the help of a professional. And I got through that one okay. And now we're on to the fun part of this evening. And we call this Think with a Drink, because we want this to be more relaxed, more casual, make finances a little less intimidating, right, Craig? A little bit more down to earth type of thing.
Yeah, let's just take it down a notch and not be so technical about everything.
And not be so technical. Try to be, like I said, a little bit more relaxed with casual. For tonight, I am drinking. This is called Daybreak, and I thought of you. I actually should have probably given you some of these. This is
Oh,
a Belgian style wit beer from
hmm,
our folks down at Newport Brewery in Rhode Island.
okay.
So a Belgian style wit, fairly easy to pair food with. Think of this as like almost like the white wine of the beer world.
Oh,
So cheese, certainly anything seafood. Fish and chips, any can be baked, broiled, fried. What is that? There's gumbo shrimp, there's fried shrimp, there's baked shrimp, right? Any of that stuff. So any type of seafood dishes would go with this. Maybe stepping up like a white pizza type of thing, sort of a combination there, like a broccoli type of cheese pizza thing.
kind of like a white ale then. Is that what you're saying? Is it
Yeah,
an ale?
it's not quite a white ale, it's more on the Belgian style, but it goes
Uh,
right with that. It's like a wheat beer, basically.
okay, great.
What do you got?
I am drinking a White Claw hard seltzer black cherry.
Oh, the black cherry, yeah. Well, I could have given you a boatload of those. I'm not really a big fan of black cherry, but Skol.
Skull. So you don't like the cherry Coke?
Oh, anything with cherry. It's like medicine, like bleh. I'll trade you a boatload of black cherries for like whatever the mango or whatever the tangerine that they got in the White Claw, whatever it is. All right, so one thing that we want to get back to, especially this time of the year. All right, so we got the agenda, right? It's the most wonderful time of the year. That's in a question mark, right? As far as going through that. Again, I didn't fix this. This is the second week in a row. I did not fix the agenda. I started, you can tell, but I didn't fix it. But that's okay. We'll get into 5 tips and strategies about ways to be better handling the holidays or surviving the holidays. But right now, what I wanted to
Oh, well,
get to is go ahead. What?
I'm gonna say it works. Distribution versus accumulation. I'm
Yeah.
distributing since I'm accumulating presents. I'm doing one of the two, right?
Yes, correct. I mean, giving gifts and I'm getting. Well, I'm hoping I'm getting, right? That's part of it. So what we want to do is we want to take a moment to be something that we're grateful for. And for me, for this time of the year and for me, it's traditions. And even those traditions that might be or seem a little silly, like for myself with my girls, it's getting a Christmas tree.
Mhm.
This has been something we have done since they were very little, the day after Thanksgiving. Clockwork. Doesn't matter what the weather is. I am out in a lot in a downpour, in the snow. It doesn't matter. Every year, the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday, we are out to go get the Christmas tree.
Wow, fun. Yeah, I gave
Yeah.
up on that a year ago. I
Yeah,
love.
so that's our tradition. So traditions. I'm sure everybody has them, especially around this time of the year. Some things that you do, those type of things. So it's sort of that family get together sort of tradition type of thing. That's what I'm grateful for. What about you? What are you grateful for at this time of year?
Well, actually, I found out last week I lost a friend I grew up with in high school, and
Oh, that's not something to be grateful for.
no, but what I'm getting grateful for is the fact that no matter what kind of day I'm having, it's a better day. It's
Yeah, so I mean, looking back on, relationships and people and sort of reflecting on things. I mean, I've lost a lot of people around me and you do take a step back and sort of look at that and say, I'm grateful for the time that I had with them, grateful being part of their life and their world and, the time they spent in mine, certainly.
well, I'm grateful to be able to enjoy another Christmas.
Yeah, there
That's
you go.
because nothing's for certain. So,
Nothing is for certain. Absolutely not. Okay, so let's move on with this and get into, it's the most wonderful time of the year. So that's what they tell us, right? And that's the whole thing. And our whole topic here is about how to survive the holidays financially, right? Because what happens, right? This is tis the season for overdoing everything, right? We eat way too much, right? God bless. I grew up in an Italian, full-blooded Italian household, still a full-blooded Italian household. My holiday meals take hours to get through. There's courses after courses after courses, and then dessert gets piled on later. We eat way too much during the holidays. We drink way too much. Some of us. I mean, let's face it. The show's called Think with a Drink, right? We are doing this, but we do overindulge. And then, of course, we spend way too much. Sometimes, for a lot of us, we tend to overextend ourselves at this time of the year. And that's really what this is about. It's about trying to say, are there ways and steps and things that you can do to curtail that part of it? Again, we can't help you with the food and the drinking. That's on a completely different realm from this, but maybe cutting back on some of the spending will get you to cut back on some of that stuff.
Possibly. Sometimes, right. If you're not drinking as much, but you don't spend as much.
Not spending as much. And you say, oh yeah, certainly that crazy. What was that? The whole thing with the late night TV and a bottle of wine never goes like well, right? And now it's being at the computer with it.
Buying knives at 2 a.m.
Yes, right. But wait, there's more. You can get a Bassomatic. All right, so 5 tips to try and survive the holidays. All right, so tip number 1, this is, sort of goes against the grain of everything that Craig and I try to do with everyone, because if you've heard any of our stuff, we are big or is it anti-budget? Could you be anti-budget? I don't know. By the way, we don't like the budget word, right? But we just sort of go there. We feel it's a little too constraining.
You can put holiday spending. You didn't have to put holiday budget. You put holiday spending.
Yeah, for this particular situation, for this thing, for the holidays, we're okay with it because it's a finite period of time. It's a limited factor thing that you're dealing with. So the idea is, well, you got to put some sort of a limit.
Yeah, you have an event. It's a budget for the event, right?
Yes. That type of thing, right? So, trying to figure out what that limit is, that's a different conversation. You need to sort of look inside yourself for that and figure out. And one thing with this is don't do this as, hey, well, I'm going to, I'll put the money back in January or February, or I'm going to get a tax refund in March or April, so I'll put it back then. We know that doesn't happen.
Well, then you get another gift after Christmas, which is a bill.
Well, you have a bill, you've got some debt you got to pay off, but we know that something else comes up, right? We end up using it for something else and we never put the money back. And we just carry that debt forward. So the first lesson here is, yes, figure out what that limit is going to be and then try to figure out how you're going to stick to it. The budget is one way to do that. But it is something that definitely needs to be in everybody's mindset as you're going through this, because if you're just winging it as you're spending, how are you getting a handle on that? Absolutely. How are you keeping that in some sort of guidelines, or, hey, well, I didn't go over crazy. When you wake up January 2nd and go, oh, great, I didn't spend, billions.
Or maybe you did your Christmas club and you already have the money set aside for the holiday.
So
we'll still do that.
It's a good point by you. There's a flip side to this, right? So everywhere that you look or anywhere that you see will tell you to save money for this, which is what you're talking about, except where it's December 1st. You can't save the money now, right? We're in December. We're spending at this point, right? Well, we don't. However,
next year.
Exactly. We can take that and carry that mindset forward. And maybe for our 2023 budget, we can build in those spending for gifts, holidays, other things that we want to do. Absolutely.
Yeah. To me, this is one of those, looking for a small target to hit when you're starting to save money on and budget that on a monthly basis. This is great because everybody spends money in the holidays. Yes. Right. So you got to get, what did I spend last December? And then you kind of plan forward. Well, if I put money away every month, it doesn't hit me all in December.
So, correct. Or worse, like we talked about, it doesn't wind up on the credit card waiting to get paid in January, February, or March.
Well, it's going to hit you at some point. It's a matter of when, right? So you want to be proactive or reactive. That's the issue. Reactive usually costs more.
Yeah, it costs a lot more. So tip number 2, and we talk about this all the time whenever we talk about, saving versus spending or any type of going through and really figuring out what you're doing, and that's tracking your spending. And when we say this, because as we talked about, we tend to get a little overindulgent. I believe that's the phrase for that, right? We get a little carried away, and next thing you know, we're out and we're drinking.
Mhm.
And now there's another round coming, or, hey, I'm going to have some other food thing, or, I start to spend a little bit more than I had anticipated.
Well, right. It's a time of season and we're generous, right?
We tend to be, yes. But so you want to be tracking and tracking not just, hey, look, okay, I figured out where, I did the ATM withdrawal and I figured out where that money went. But you want to know when, where, and most importantly, why. Why were you spending the money? Right? If this was just, hey, I was out with people and everybody decided they wanted to go someplace else on top of it, so I went along for the ride. Okay, but could you have afforded it? Were you able to do that? I just hit something? Wow.
The computer was ready to move forward.
Yeah, I know. The computer, like, hey, get moving. Like, hey, we're holding you up here. Get moving.
Yeah, and I
But
know we're talking about tracking where and why here. If you don't track on a regular basis, this is sometimes a little bit more difficult time to start doing it because you feel like, well, why should I? It's Christmas. I'm going to spend, right? But once again, it's what are you spending money on? How much more is it going to add onto your budget in December that you weren't expecting? And is it something like Tom said? Can you afford that? Is it going to put you in a conundrum when you hit January? Is your new year going to start off the way you want it if you don't have some of this under control?
right, right, absolutely. And that's the whole idea here is, again, trying to survive the holidays, but put yourself in a good place to begin the next year.
Mhm.
Because you're going to start all over again, and now you got to start figuring it out. And if you start with a debt, with a hole that you weren't anticipating, it's that much harder to save for whatever it was you were trying to save for. Whatever goal you had in mind now gets derailed even farther.
Absolutely.
So this one is more of that okay, we're spending, we talked about that, we're spending, but how are we spending and where are we spending, and do we have maybe some cash back rewards? Are there items that are on, to not the Black Friday thing, because God bless, or Cyber, all that craziness, because who knows there. But are there items that you're trying to do? I mean, again, we're December now, not like, hey, you were trying to do this in late October, early November and getting something on sale. It's December now. How much are you really going to find something that's on sale that you want to purchase for someone for their holiday gift?
Well, sometimes, this may seem a little out of tradition, but a lot of times families aren't
Tradition.
starting necessarily celebrating holiday on Christmas anymore because of travel and schedules and all those things that come into play. And don't underestimate the after Christmas sales that go on. They can make some of that affordable.
Right. Or in that case, like you're talking about, like a lot of times what you'll have is, core family on Christmas, but then I'm gathering with the extended family, the cousins, everybody else, depending on how large your family is, the day after or 2 days after, depending on the holiday when it falls, on the weekend, because it's easier to get, like you said, get everybody together. We know we can do it then. And yeah, maybe then it's a time to, go and try to pick something up. And now I have gifts that are on sale, that are less costly than if I tried to buy it the week before Christmas.
They don't know when you bought it, so what difference does that make?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's the whole idea is just be a little bit creative with it, and think about that and think about what you're trying to give and how you're giving and what you're giving, and doing some of those things. Some of this may be, and I know it's a little hard to deal with, but in some cases it may be, hey, look, if I'm giving to charity, maybe I'm donating on behalf of somebody, and that's my gift.
Mhm.
I'm giving a donation in your name to a charity event that I care about, or I know you care about, or whatever the case may be. And now I've sort of done two goods with one gift.
Yeah, I think the other thing too is what is the point of the gift, right? Is it to impress the other people, or is it to show that you think about them? So sometimes even a homemade gift, you put a basket together or you do something along those lines, it can be more
Right.
affordable, but even more appreciated.
Right. And you got to be creative with that. That's the idea, trying to be creative in terms of doing it. And that again gets back to the why are we doing this? Why are we spending type of thing.
Mhm.
So understand that it is okay to say no. And when we mean it's okay to say no, we mean that, a lot of times these events, whether some of them are costly, there's ticket costs and other things to attend, and there's, nights out with friends and family and going places that, get very expensive depending on where you're going and when and what's involved.
Or
And
traveling can be expensive.
travel, exactly, those type of things. So just understand, we know everybody wants to get together, we want to see everybody, but like Craig said, sometimes it might make sense to try to do that around the holiday time. Maybe get together with friends before the Thanksgiving time sets in, and then see them again after the new year, because it's all crazy in between there and everything that goes on. So it's just realize that it's okay every now and then to say, no, I can't attend, or, I'm not able to be there, or whatever the case may be, because you've got to have a budget and you got to stick to that. And that's where that comes in and sort of guides you through it.
Also okay to say no if you just don't want to go.
Well, that's the easier one. That's like, hey, now you got to blame it on somebody else, right? So you figure some other way to
Have to.
throw somebody on the bus for that. But yes, but just understand, because a lot of times there's pressure to that. And if we feel pressure to go, we feel pressure to do so, we feel pressure to spend, we feel pressure to give. And, sometimes you have to sort of look inside and say, well, I really can't do that now.
Nobody's
Not
taking 5 this year. I'm sorry.
not
You have
this year, right? It can't happen. I can't do it, whatever the case may be. It's just something to be thinking about and realizing that that's part of that. And then because normally number five would be what Craig was talking about, which is save for this. But since we're December, we ain't saving for nothing at this point. So this is go back, now that you've gone through all the steps, and review the budget. You got to come back to the budget, because you got to find that. And once you put it in place, you've got to stick to it. This is a hard line thing about really being on point with your budget and your spending, and understanding this is what I have, and I really can't do more than this.
Yeah, and I think what you said earlier about your why, right? If you look at these categories, what is the most important part of the holiday for you? Is it Italian family? Maybe a lot around food, right?
Food.
I'm going to
Of course,
sacrifice
it's
the food budget.
food.
I'll give up some gifts in order to have a bigger food budget, right?
Yeah, bigger food budget. It's always a big
I
food
mean,
budget.
yeah, you can only do your pot's only so big, you can only do so much with it. So it's about prioritizing what's important. If there's a
Correct.
particularly large gift that someone's trying to get this year, then you may cut back on some of the food things that you do. If you're doing
Right.
finger food instead of a giant,
Yeah, or
spread.
maybe it's I can't go out, the friends wanted to go out one night, I can't do it, right? Or maybe there's some event that I wanted to go to, I can't do that.
Right, absolutely. And then you also got to factor, especially this year, every year the holiday costs a little bit more,
Right.
right? Inflation drives it up a little bit more. I mean, how much when you started doing this with your girls, what, 24 years ago? Your tradition with the Christmas tree?
Yeah, somewhere in that range. No, they were, so Taylor's just gonna be 21 now, so, you're talking probably 15 years ago.
So when you went out to buy a Christmas tree 15 years ago, how much did a Christmas tree cost?
Probably $30,
What did it cost you this last time?
$60.
Well, that's not bad at all.
No, it wasn't bad.
Geez, a $50, that's great.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's
no,
still
no.
inflation, right? Same tree.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No. It's still, but it it is when you, it's funny when you do it out, and that's one of the things. And it's funny with, different years. Nowadays it's tough to do it, but we used to always do this Christmas tree fund. You talked about the Christmas club and that type of
Yep.
thing. But we would always do it. It's still there. The jar is on the counter, right? It's just nobody uses cash anymore, so it's tough. It's a little lean now to like fill that, but we used to fill it. That would be the size of the tree. Like what was ever in there, that's what we would use. So if we only got $40, we can only buy a $40 tree, because that's what the deal was.
So you got a swear jar and you'd have a huge tree, right?
Yes, they wanted that. That was the idea behind that. Like, can we put that together and do that? But no, but so it's the idea of that. Like, so just understand we really, for Craig and I, we really don't like the budget term because we do feel it's constraining and people, balk at it and feel like, wait, you're trying to tell me how to spend my money. But when we're talking here about a short period of time, and in this case, we're talking about a month because it's December 1st. We're talking going through the holiday, which is New Year's. That's another one we didn't really get into with this. But New Year's, that's, another one that brings into the whole, I'm spending, are we going out someplace? Is it going to cost us money to go there? And then I got to pay for other things that go along with it. Do I have to get a hotel room someplace? There's all sorts of factors there that get along with this, but it's 30 days. That's what you're dealing with right now. Basically the month of December and January, so 32 days right now. So as far as that's concerned, and breaking it out. So for a short period of time, it's okay to use a budget.
Because one of the best gifts you can give yourself coming out of the holidays is no stress about having to pay back bills. That you made it with your budget, that you were comfortable with what you spent.
Right. No worries on that. Absolutely. And for us, for Aries, for Craig, for myself, what we try to do for everybody, like we said, is to talk about these, have these conversations about the relationship, about why, what's important, why you're doing something, maybe why you've thought about doing it but haven't done it, or you've wanted to do it, not do it. It's funny because I just had this conversation with somebody yesterday where it was we talked about the whole tackling debt thing and going through the different strategies and they were like, well, yeah, I've sort of done the shotgun approach thing. And I'm like, okay, but you realize that's not working, right? And she's like, yeah, it's not working. I go, okay, so let's change that. Let's take a step forward. Let's change that. And that's part of what we do. And so, you're free to reach out to us at any time. If you can stop the video, you can shoot that QR code that gets you right to our scheduler. Same thing with the link on the bottom. You can schedule a time. One of us will be available, and you can just have a conversation about what's important to you. Because that's really what this is all about, trying to help you have a better relationship with your money. So think with a drink. We keep that theme going with what's on tap. Next week is Are Annuities Bad? Or, right? Yeah, that's how we titled that, right? Our annuities are bad. No, yes, are annuities bad? Because we didn't title it as annuities are bad. It was Are Annuities Bad, right? There's a little bit phrasing there in terms of the way it is. On the 15th, we're going to do a recap. Talk about all the craziness that's gone on in 2022. Everything was bad. There was no place to hide. Everything is still in the tank, basically, and still, swirling at this point. Who knows where we're headed? We'll sort of do a little look towards 2023 in that and sort of see where we're at. And then we're going on holiday. We're going to be off for the whole holiday season, through the Christmas break through the New Year break. We'll come back on the 12th for the next episode from there. We'll see where we built out at that time. Craig, any questions in the chat box for us?
Just one question I have is, when am I going to get my Santa hat with a logo on it?
Santa hat with the logo.
Like, do we really? Yeah, the girl with the Santa Claus.
I know, but do we really need? I mean, we gave it to her. Do we really need one? Do I have to have another one for you, like with the elf ears, or with the non-elf ears, or the big long version, or the little short one, big fuzzy top?
I'd like one with elk ears. That'd be fun.
With elf ears. Anyway. You can always reach us. You can go to the website, ariesfoundation.org. There's a contact us page. Right down, scroll down, and you'll find that. You can certainly reach out to us. Shoot us an email. It's info@ariesfoundation.org. Or like we said, you can stop the video, shoot that QR code. It'll bring up our calendar, and you can schedule a time with us at any time. On that, I am going to say, Skol, and have a great evening.
I got my elk ears.
What happened?